Thanks, V. My name is Maxine Doogan. I'm an erotic service provider. An erotic service provider is anybody who earns a living from their erotic labor. So you can be a prostitute or an adult film performer. You can be a webcam performer, exotic dancer. Anything that you're going to be working into using your erotic labor. And I work as a prostitute myself. I've worked for 25 years. And I expect to be working for another 25 more. I founded this nonprofit with a couple other people because we wanted to negate the negative impact of the anti-prostitution law in California. So basically, this case was hatched in 2008 in the ashes of the failure of Prop K, which was a ballot initiative that we did in San Francisco that asked the city and county of San Francisco to decriminalize prostitution. We got 41% of the vote. And part of why we lost that ballot initiative is we had a difficult time raising money because in campaign finance laws demand that you have to disclose names, your what you do in an occupation. Those are all publicly disclosed records. So we have people who wanted to contribute but didn't want to be associated with prostitution, and because they felt like they would receive some sort of negative social or economic impact as a result of that association. So I talked to Margaret St. James, and she said, well, you're going to have to do a lawsuit. You know, we did Coyote versus Roberts in Rhode Island in 1976. So that lawsuit was about 4 Coyote women members who wanted to work in Rhode Island. And so they filed a lawsuit against the state attorney general stating that the anti-prostitution laws would be unequally enforced. They were being enforced on the women, but not on the men. That case was settled out of court. It was decided that the state legislature of Rhode Island just removed the criminalization of indoor prostitution. So I know that's been reported in the press that Rhode Island accidentally decriminalized prostitution for 30 years, but that's not really the case. It was really a result of a settlement out of court at the time. And then in driving down here too, I thought, you know, we drove through Northridge. So back in 1997, Norma Jean Almodovar, who was head of Coyote, she wrote the book From Cop to Call Girl. You know, it's a story about her working as a cop and then going on and becoming a call girl and all of her trials and tribulations about that. She hosted the International Conference on Prostitution here in 1997. And one of the breakout rooms, workshops like this one, was about a lawyer who had filed on behalf of a former sex worker to try to overturn the anti-prostitution law in Florida, and he filed in federal court. So, you know, it kind of was like, yes, we're going to have to do a court case in order to overturn the prostitution law in California. That's just the way forward that we're going to have to do. So basically, we filed, we got Louis Sirkin, who is a First Amendment rights specialist attorney, and we started meeting. We flew Louis over, and we started meeting with him, and he says, you know, you're going to have some plaintiffs. You're going to have a female plaintiff that says that she wants to work, and you're going to have a brothel worker, a legal working brothel plaintiff who has licensing out of Nevada, who wants the right to work in California. She lives in California, but she has to travel to Nevada to work legally. Then we have a customer plaintiff who is a fabulous guy. He is, he's in his 30s, and he does have a level of disability, and he wants the right to be able to purchase services. And then our organization, we formed our nonprofit so that people could contribute, you know, financially with having you know, anonymously. You don't have to disclose, you know, who is contributing. So we formed the nonprofit, the ESPLERP, the Erotic Service Providers Legal Education and Research Project, as a vehicle to move the lawsuit forward and to be able to fundraise on that capacity. So when we filed our court case in March of this year in federal court, we filed against the State Attorney General Kamala Harris for violating our constitutional rights when enforcing the prostitution law. We filed against the San Francisco District Attorney. His last name is Gascon. That's why you see the name of our lawsuit, ESPLERP versus Gascon. It's him. We also filed against Alameda County District Attorney. We thought she deserved a special mention. If you have any questions about that later, I'd be happy to answer about that. We also filed against Marin County and Sonoma County prosecutors for violating our civil rights. So the civil rights violations we're talking about here is the First Amendment, our right to negotiate for our own labor and our own safe work conditions. So you can be arrested in California just by saying, I'm going to provide you sexual service X, Y, and Z for X amount of money. Boom, you're criminalized. We also filed based on be able to get access to, it's called substantive due process. That's like sort of the heavy legal jargon, but really what we're talking about there is being access to equal protection under the law. So if we're victims of rape, robbery, theft, coercion, or extortion, we want the right to be able to go to the police, or we want the right to be able to access, public services like the Victims' Compensation Fund, those kinds of things. And then we have the right to associate. We want the right to be able to associate without being arrested for pimping each other, for being in association or supporting each other's, prostitution, because that's how the pimping and pandering laws are actually written here in the state of California. And so, let's see, let me just end by saying, so the state has filed a motion saying they want to dismiss our case, that our case has no basis in reality, that we should continue to be criminalized because we are, one, dirty little whores, we are the vectors of disease. Two, there's sex trafficking. You have to be criminalized to prevent sex trafficking. And of course, our last one, the most familiar one, is morality. It's just not our moral standards. So with that, I will defer to Jerry.
We'll come